What is up, AFC North football fans, and welcome into another edition of the AFC North Roundtable powered by BetUS. Week 7 is in the books, and it was a good weekend for I was about to say all, not all. 3/4 of the AFC North. 3 teams got the W. 1 did not. We're going to dive into all 4 games as we recap Week 7 here on the AFC North Roundtable. Before I bring in the fellas, I want to let you guys know about an app that we are encouraging you to download because it is our favorite app here at the Roundtable, and that's the Autograph app. The link's going to be in the description below. You click that link. It's going to take you to the App Store or the Google Play Store. You download it. You use the promo code RTS. From there, you're going to choose your favorite team, whether that's the Browns, the Bengals, the Steelers, or the Ravens, and then you're set up. From there, it's going to set up a hub for you. Your favorite team is going to have all the content surrounding it in one spot. Top YouTube shows, top articles, top tweets, top podcasts, all in one spot. And here's the best part. You're already consuming the content. You're watching us here, and you already know you're scrolling the Twitter feed. You're reading the articles. You're listening to the shows. If you do that in the Autograph app, you earn fan coins. Those fan coins can be used for merch, jerseys, even game tickets to your favorite team to go and see them play. Awesome stuff. Like I said, you're already doing all this. You might as well get rewarded for it. That's what Autograph brings to the table. So links in the description below. You click it. You download the app completely free. Use the promo code RTS. And from there, you are ready to rock. Speaking of ready to rock, I got the fellas in the background. They're ready to rock. I'll bring them in order of dubs. My man, Mark, who's back with us. Mark,
what's going on?
So good to see you. My man, Zim. And I want to let everybody know, as you see Sam here, Bobby, our beloved Bobby Trossett, he's a little too busy for us, boys and girls. He's a little too busy for the AFC North Roundtable. And you know he's got to be busy because his Ravens might be playing the best football in the sport right now, and he still can't find time to come and talk about how good they are. That's when you know my man Bobby is slammed up. So unfortunately, Bobby will no longer be the representative for the Baltimore Ravens. But fortunately, we have a terrific guy to fill his shoes, and that's my man, Sam. So welcome, Sam, who's been on the show before. He will be our permanent Baltimore Ravens rep. We're excited to have Sam for the rest of the season. And then there's Zay. Zay, brother, I just want you to know I love you. I really do love you, and I think about you a lot.
Oh, you do? Because you already started off rocky. Oh, all 4. Wait, my bad. 3. Like you already starting out like this. Come on.
And I knew you were going to say that. The problem is I got my tongue tied there. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off to get over here. And my dumb ass was about to say all 4 won. And then I caught myself in a tongue twister. And then I thought, man, Zay's going to think I'm messing with him. I want you to know from here on out, if you think I'm messing with you, and you know on here, everybody knows we like to mess with each other. I'm not messing with anything with the Browns anymore. That's I can't. I don't have it in my heart anymore. I can't do it. Zim does. Zim's raising his hand. He's got it. He's still got it in him. I think Mark's probably still got it in him. We'll see if Sam does, but nothing from my side. We're going to talk about those.
Zim, your mic ain't working. Your mic ain't working, Zim.
He's on mute.
Nah, it didn't work before.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to Zim. I'm sure Zim's got a lot to say about his Bengals getting the W this past week, and we'll talk about that game in just a minute. Before we dive into all of the games we saw from the AFC North this past weekend, let's dive into the updated odds to win this division right now on BetUS. And man, I haven't looked at these odds, fellas. I got to imagine it's about as wide of a gap as just about any division currently is over on BetUS. I know right now the Bills are minus 750 to win the AFC East. So let's see if the Ravens are as heavy of a favorite to win the AFC North. As I pull it up here, let's take a peek.
Be like minus 550, honestly. Let's be real.
Something like that.
Wow, I'm actually a bit stunned, guys. The Baltimore Ravens minus 350 to win this division, with the Steelers still hanging strong right there in the picture, as they should be. They've been playing better and better ball, especially offensively, finally getting up into the 30s. I know Mark's got to be loving that. They're at plus 400. The Bengals at plus 750. I can't believe I'm saying this right now. $100 on the Cleveland Browns would win you $25,000 for them to win the AFC North. I gotta hold on. Let me lean in. It's not. It is plus 25,000.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I don't think I've ever seen that ever before. So that's the state of the division, folks. You got the Ravens as a heavy favorite. The Steelers behind. I think plus 400 right now. I know the Ravens are balling, but that's pretty good value for a team that's right behind the Ravens. The Bengals at plus 750, and then the Browns, $100 would win you a condo in a small town of your choice should they wind up pulling the greatest comeback in the history of professional sports. If you want to get in on the action, take advantage of the promo code we're offering up for you over at BetUS. The promo code YouTube150. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next two deposits after that. Get to Zim.
So Z-Bot. Just to be clear, you guys like that method, how you guys do that betting, like plus full 80 or whatever you do? So
how is it in Australia?
We just do it heaps different. Like in Australia, it's like Baltimore Ravens are $1.25. So you put on $1 and you win 25 cents. Like Steelers are $5, so you put on $1, you win $5. And Cleveland Browns is like
it's the same thing, just a different term.
Okay. Browns.
You know what? I think I've seen this in the settings where you can adjust it, and you're right. There is different. The numerical value is different in different countries, but I think it's all the same in terms of the money paid out. I think it's just the way it's listed on the site is different, but that's interesting. Yeah, it's all based on like minus and plus over here. If you're not used to it, it's kind of like a different language. But once you get used to it, you become fluent in that language pretty quick. All right, fellas, we're already at near the halfway point of the season, which is crazy. It's hard to believe. And right now, the Ravens lead this division at 5-2. The Steelers right behind at 5-2 themselves. The Bengals creeping up there at 3-4. The Cleveland Browns at 1-6. And we'll start with the game that was an interdivisional battle this past weekend. The Bengals have had their struggles against the Cleveland Browns, and it wasn't a particularly great game for the Cincinnati Bengals, but a W nonetheless. Bengals are able to get the dub in Cleveland this past weekend, 21-14. And as I'm sure you know by now, in this game, Deshaun Watson done for the year with a season-ending injury and all the fallout that's come from that. Jameis Winston will be the starter for the Cleveland Browns this upcoming weekend. There's also been a change at play caller for the Cleveland Browns. It will go from head coach to offensive coordinator as Ken Dorsey, the former offensive coordinator of the Bills, will now be calling the plays for the Cleveland Browns. A lot going on in Cleveland. We'll have Zay touch on what his thoughts are on the whole situation in a minute. But Mark, I'll start with you. Bengals get the W here. Watson out for the year. Your biggest takeaway from this game in Cleveland on Sunday?
Dude, I only saw the highlights, but my biggest takeaway, dead set, was that kickoff return. I was like, that's got to crush you. Like, as a Browns fan, you know, or I'm not, but if you were a Browns fan watching that game, you're trying to have some optimism, some hope, some like, okay, our team's not doing that great, but when you're starting off 7-0, that's just a kick to the guts. And Steelers fans have seen that too in a playoff game versus the Browns as well, starting off 7-0. So I think they have a lot of problems. I think it's, you know, of course, Watson now being out, and I don't know how did the second quarterback get injured too because a third guy came in.
Yeah, DTR.
So they obviously have a lot of problems, and I think it does start with Deshaun Watson not playing good football. But I've only really saw the highlights, to be honest. My biggest one was if it's that's kind of like a bit of a reflection of the franchise right now, is that 100-yard kickoff return down to the end zone was like, hey, are we done? Is the season over? You know, are we just playing for fun now? But of course, you know, players got to be competitive. You had Nick Chubb back. I know that the fans love him getting back too. I've got him on my fantasy, so maybe he can get the team and start winning games and doing something. But it's a tough loss against the Bengals, and I think normally the Bengals lose to them, right, at home in the Brown Stadium. Yeah. So, but they won by 7 points. So am I wrong? Am I wrong, Zim? I don't know. I thought it was one way or the other. The Bengals
21-14 Bengals. Yep.
Oh, his mic's out.
It's really low. I can like faintly hear you, Zim.
Oh, low.
But if you look at the stat sheet in this game, and this is what's crazy about it, is finally Cleveland had a semblance of an offense, and Cincinnati has had a semblance of an offense all year. They didn't in this game. Cleveland, numerically, as far as the statistics are concerned, they pretty much outplayed the Bengals in every major category in this game. More total yards, more passing yards, more rushing yards, more yards per play, more first downs, better on third down, better on fourth down, more than 20 additional plays, less punts. Just a crazy game in the terms of looking at it and finding a way for Cleveland to be on the losing end. But that kick return, as you mentioned, Mark, that was a massive play in the game that ultimately wound up being the difference. Sam, what was your biggest takeaway from the Bengals win over the Browns on Sunday?
I thought I was kind of surprised. I was expecting the Bengals to run away with it, but I was watching the show last week and I saw, as they mentioned, the Bengals and Browns. Browns usually get the job done in this situation. So kudos to the Bengals for getting the job done. The Browns just look like they're done. I mean, that one saving grace is the fact that Deshaun Watson did go down, and that's probably an addition by subtraction based on the way others have felt around the nation. So it'll be interesting to see what Jameis Winston does moving forward. But yeah, the defense is trying their best to hold fast, but with the offense struggling so much, even with the addition of Nick Chubb, who I think played pretty good in his first start back, it's not looking good for the Browns. And the Bengals side, it's, when are you going to show the team that I saw against the Chiefs? The Chiefs game really let me believe that the Bengals really had a shot to be one of those top teams in the AFC, and I haven't really seen it that much since then. Of course, the Bengals did put up 38 points against the Ravens, but other than that, I haven't really seen it yet from the Bengals. They do start slow, so I think around this time you'll start to see them build it up, but I think that the Bengals showed that they still have some work to do, and the Browns are showing that it's probably 2025 for them.
All right, Zim, I'm going to swing it to you. How's the mic? Give me a little test here. I don't know what's going on. I can hear it. It's like he's a mouse. It's like he's like a pipsqueak. I can hear it's like he's a mile away. I can hear him, but not great. Is the volume up?
Yeah, go to settings and check your volume.
That was a little better. Can you bring it closer? No, it ain't.
Unplug
working.
the mic and use your computer mic. See if that works. All right, we'll get to Zim in a second, but Zay, it might be for the best here because I want to give you a minute here, just because there's a lot going on. I want to hear you unpack not only the injury and the loss ultimately, but then of course the outcry afterwards. You have fans that were cheering it on. It's been the topic of conversation this entire week, and then one more thing on the plate today: Stefanski no longer the play caller. It's going to be Ken Dorsey. So just every week we hop on here, and it's just one more thing to discuss with these Browns. And we were talking about the potential of Watson maybe not being the starter in the future. We didn't think it would come under these circumstances. So your overall thoughts on how Sunday went down and the outfall ever since?
Typical Cleveland Browns fashion. It's amazing how you think we're on the track of being off of that, and then we find ourselves right back here in the pit of misery that has been pretty much since '99. It's weird because right before we got off on this show, Shelby Harris was on a podcast, and he goes, "Yeah, what the fans don't know is they lost a lot of people in the locker room after that cheering of Deshaun Watson. Like, just when you think it can't get any worse, I'm expecting this to get even more worse, which I don't know how that's possible." But as far as the game goes, the defense is still locking in somehow, which is, I was just talking about this on my live stream earlier today, where it's like any other past Cleveland Browns team would have been given up. Like you mentioned, Mark, right off of the gate, you would think, is this over out the gate? But somehow our defense still kept us in it. And it was so rocky on our offense. You didn't even know that Deshaun Watson was 15 to 17 for 100 and whatever yards he was, because the ball just didn't seem like it was moving the way that it should. Nick Chubb was back. You were expecting that hype to carry you, and he only got 11 carries for 22 yards. So it was just a roller coaster of emotions, and what we thought was going to be a glorious day because Nick Chubb came back, it turned out to be this fiasco that is Cleveland, because now you have a new offensive coordinator coming in to run the show, which – what timing this is. And then, which doesn't even make any more sense, is you're going to bench, or you're going to bring in the guy who suits Kevin Stefanski's offense better, a la Winston. So it's just a really weird situation that the Cleveland Browns are in right now. And quite frankly, I think this is just the surface of what's to come.
So Zay,
go ahead, Mark.
Sorry. So Zay, when you only lost by 7, right? Was there chances you could win the game? Like, were there times where you go in the field and win the game, or tie, or be in it? because losing by 7 is not a crazy win for the Bengals. I'd say it's still a division rival, and a win's a win, but.
Well, there was a garbage time touchdown at the end. But as far as like winning the game, if you're watching it from a fan's perspective, you didn't feel like you had a chance to win it. The score dictated, it showed you that you did. The defense gave you a chance to put like they've done every week, give the offensive ball to go out there and score. But we can't move the ball on offense. So did we ever feel like we had a chance to win? No, because we can't move the damn ball. But the opportunities were definitely there.
Zay, you said this is just the beginning in terms of what you think will be continued dysfunction. What is it you mean by that, and what are you expecting? Or are you just at this point expecting the worst, whatever that might be?
Oh, people talk about a hot seat. There's no hot seats over here. Everything's boiling. I've never seen Kevin Stefanski so uncertain. He's talking about week to week operations and not looking forward into the future, not looking to. Kevin Stefanski is speaking in different tongues like we've never seen before. And it's feeling like if this thing continues to go down south the way that it's going, scapegoats are in play. Ken Dorsey, I think you know very well. So if this goes exactly like what you or your fans are telling us, you're going to be seeing some firings mid-season. So I'm interested to see if Stefanski will be the first one to go before Dorsey. Will it be Dorsey, or how is this going to go? But a soft rebuild is in process as we speak.
With Deshaun Watson, not only forget the off the field stuff and the ramifications with the fan base because of it. This is now 2 season-ending injuries as well. What's the future here? Now that he's done for the year, obviously with the money paid, we were talking about it last show before the injury where it felt like we were talking about maybe it being up in the air just because of how bad he's been playing and then the animosity surrounding him. But now you're adding another season-ending injury. What's the outcome of this?
Well, it's funny because Mary Kay was getting slack for saying that, well, I think that there is still something with Deshaun Watson. Kevin Stefanski batted and said that, he gives us the best chance to win, and clearly that was it. It seems as if there is saving grace. Like they're keeping an outlet open, which fans don't want to hear. But, one thing to keep about, there was a Yahoo article. I'm not sure the guy who wrote it, but they talked about the insurance policy. The Jets did similar something to what Aaron Rodgers did, and there's $37 million that would have been fully guaranteed or whatever it was. They would have got a big portion of that back. So there's some sort of speculation of that. Nothing to write home about right now, but it's looking like they don't know. I don't know, because you go into next year, imagine I was mad that I lost. You sound better now. I was mad when I lost $1.50 worth of Kool-Aid packets. Like, imagine trying to throw away $172 million. So I think they're going to try to do everything that they can to get whatever they can out of them. But like I told you guys before, they're going to go quarterback this year, whether it be in the draft, free agency, whatever. They're going to go get something.
All right, Zim, you got the W in a topsy-turvy game that resulted in, what it did with Deshaun Watson. But it's a W for your Bengals. You're at 3-4 now, right back in the mix. It wasn't great. W nonetheless. These divisional games, especially in this division, always seem to be sloppy, and getting out of there with a win is all that matters. Your takeaway from what you saw on Sunday?
I disagree with a couple of different things. I didn't think the game was that close. I thought the game was 21-6 with 4 minutes left, and we got an interception, and we just went into kill the clock mode. I mean, it was 21-6 with 3 minutes and like some change left. We ran the ball 6 consecutive times and then just punted it, did nothing with it. I'm mad at our coaches for doing that. I thought that they should have still tried to like put their foot on them a little bit and like keep the ball away from them at least. But they just conceded and just ran the ball, got a yard, and then punted the ball to them. They made DTR look like the worst quarterback I've ever seen in the history of football.
Didn't the Bengals do that the other week too, where they ran the ball and lost the game?
Yeah, and lost the game like idiots, and did the same exact thing. I thought for the first half of the game, it was a tight game. Every time that we do play Cleveland, it is always a tight game. And I think defensively, like their corners and stuff play like our wide receivers a lot stickier in coverage than other teams. I thought once they got past that and got into the second half of the game, though, they started to kind of hit their stride and get into a little bit of rhythm. I was listening to some of the stuff. I'm like, the time of possession looked like that because it was a bunch of punts here or whatever. But once they got a lead, they just where they gave them the opportunity to come back, kick an onside at the end. We recovered it, but it was like a late garbage time touchdown. When DTR came in and Geno Stone got like the pick or whatever, I just thought that was the end of the game then, and it was pretty much packed up, but I don't know. So I did hear what you were saying, like Sam just saying like we're looking for that off. Yeah, 100%. The Bengals need to be better on offense. I thought that the Browns, that was more a testament to their defense, is probably still top 10 or fringe top 10 at some point, or however you look at it. That was the first time I think we played Myles Garrett, and I don't remember even hearing his name called. You know how I came on the show and I was like, I'll never talk bad about Myles Garrett. That was the only game. He tipped like a screen pass on one play, and that was the only time. Our rookie right tackle, I thought, did really well against him. And that was, to me, that was the biggest difference in this matchup versus the Browns than in any of the other ones. And yes, there's a lot of context missing from this Browns-Bengals matchup that I've been hinting at, but the Bengals have won 3 out of the last 4 games against the Browns. So this concept that they can't beat them, I don't believe that. Also, in that formula that they use and they talk about, well, they always beat us and all these different things, Joe Burrow's rookie years incorporated in that, inheriting a 2-win team. But in those games, one of those games was Joe Burrow's second ever NFL game. He had 350 yards. He then comes back later on and gets 400. He has a bad defense. He's always played pretty damn good at the beginning. Lately, he hasn't played well. Last year, he was hurt. But like I said, we got the dub. This season has been a weird season, though. And I do think that the Bengals have had a hard time playing complementary football throughout. And every single time I come on there, I always be like, there's always one thing that they do well. And then whatever. This time it was special teams. I thought the punt unit was awesome. I thought the defense finally, remember, I don't talk that whole stuff. For the first week, we had all of our defense alignment that they intended to have at the beginning of the season. They finally had McKinley Jackson. They finally had Sheldon Rankins. They finally had BJ Hill. Sam Hubbard has a broken finger, but he's playing through it, and a messed up hamstring. But they all kind of figured out a way to kind of play together. And I thought early in the season, without it, we just didn't stand a chance against the Commanders' offense or the Ravens' offense. And now that they're healthy or whatever, I feel the balance in the team is starting to come alive a little bit. I do think the coaching staff was stupid when they had the 21-6 lead to just treat it like that. And I don't know, like that's the only part I walk away from. And I'm like, why didn't they close them out the way that I think they should? They had a 3rd and 8 and ran the ball. Like, I don't even know. I don't know what they were doing.
Your team was smack dab in the middle of the Deshaun Watson injury. And I know where you stand in terms of, you've been vocal on Deshaun Watson and the situation in Cleveland. I'm just curious about your thoughts, the future of the Browns here with the injury now in place, the second for Deshaun Watson, the off the field stuff, aside, just your thoughts right now on the current state of Cleveland within this division now with losing Deshaun Watson for the year.
Tricky. It's tricky because you're going to hear about fire sale stuff. It's Zarius Smith and Myles Garrett now being in it. It's tricky because you got to think they're the second oldest team in the NFL, but they're paying 12 guys $10+ million. And I talked about the money situation. I talked about everything about this leading up into this game. And now we're at the point they're 1-6. Now that you're paying all these guys all this money, it just doesn't make sense to be paying all these 30-year-old guys top tier money, and you got guarantees obligated to a bunch of these dudes like going into the next season. The $230 million looms over your head. You got to go get the draft picks. You got to figure out what can you do to make this make sense. And I don't even know. Like I said 3 weeks ago on the show, I guess they come in and play the spoilers for the rest of the season, but you run the risk of getting yourself out of one of the top quarterbacks too. So it's a tricky business. To me, if I was them, I'd tank. I would do what Lamar Jackson.
We are tanking.
I would do exactly what Lamar Jackson did to us. Put a spin move on us and give us our shitty roster. Cook that up, get them boys up out of there, and get you a Joe Burrow. That's what I would do. Because when I had an Andy Dalton and I was unsure and I was just making the playoffs, win 9-10 games, nobody cared. So that would be my advice to Browns fans.
One last question for Zay before we move on. Give me what happens if Jameis Winston goes out this weekend, the following weekend, the rest of the year. And I know he's susceptible to turning the ball over, but he's also susceptible to airing that thing out. What happens if Jameis goes out and this offense doubles up in points? They're moving the ball. What's the outcome of that?
It's a catastrophe. I just tweeted this out today. If we come out this week and beat the best team in the NFL and we put up more than 20 points doing it, and J-Bo throw for 300 yards, oh my God, it is going to be nightmare all through downtown
I
Cleveland.
think he gonna throw for 300 though.
That's what I'm saying. No,
Do
he
y'all think
is.
that's wild?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Because you already know what J-Bo gonna do. There's one thing that he's not afraid to do, and that's sling it. So it's like, you know, he's susceptible to changing plays if he don't like what he hear. So this is Sam. I don't know how y'all feel in Baltimore. You know how AFC Norths go. Like I told them last week, it's a dangerous game to be playing against us right now. Going up against this crap storm that is the Cleveland Browns right now, boy, oh boy. Hey, Lamar Jackson better have his Pepto-Bismol because he can't go to the locker room and take halftime shits this week.
You said it would be a shitstorm in the city of Cleveland if that ends up occurring. So do you not want it to occur? Or are you like, hell yeah, bring it on?
See, here's the thing. I was frustrated with the extension to Kevin Stefanski after last year anyway, because, you know, people looked at that as this big success last year. It's like, you have to alter your expectation. When you go 11-6 and you define the odds and you create a new expectation, you weren't expected to get blown out by a rookie quarterback and a Texans team that had no business blowing you through the waters like that. Like, you fell short. And ultimately, the guy you won a coach of the year, when reality, the guy that you lost to probably should have won coach of the year. They put themselves in a pickle here, because if they wait one more year and we come out 1-6, we may not even be 1-6 because Kevin Stefanski is more than likely out the door. So it's just such a BS situation to be in, because if J-Bo does come out this way and win, guess what happens? Now we're playing this, whoa, look, Stefanski can still lead men. And, oh, maybe Dorsey can do this. And now we're trying to reshuffle and do the typical 4-12 Browns thing, when in reality, it's a soft rebuild. You have Miles, you have Denzel, you have Grant, you have Dale K, you have all your cornerstone pieces. Now you go out there and you get the filler pieces. You got 8 picks in the draft this year. You finally got a top 3 pick more than likely. Let's see what Andrew Berry can do with that, and then you figure out from there. But right now, it's just a BS situation to be in, bro.
No doubt about it. I feel for you guys completely, but I will say 1-6, the Cleveland Browns are not irrelevant in terms of intrigue. Like, I think this is awfully intriguing watching how this unfolds the rest of the way with Jameis. What's that look like and what comes of it? We'll find out as the season continues. Let's transition to Sunday night football. These 5-2 Steelers, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, me, it doesn't matter. These Steelers continue to roll, and it's now back-to-back weeks with 30 plus. I can't remember the last time the Steelers put up 37, yet that's what they do to a Jets defense that we were told was supposed to be one of the best in football. They hold the Jets to 15 points with Devontae Adams, a team we were told was supposed to have an MVP caliber quarterback and a resurging offense. This Jets team today has a worse record than the Jets team with Zach Wilson had this same day a season ago. You love to see it, everybody. You absolutely love to see it. Congrats to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A dominant victory. It wasn't easy in the first half, 15-6. The interceptions were the ultimate tide turner in this game. The first one allowed Pittsburgh to get back into it. The second one allowed them to pull away. Sam, I'll start with you, man. These Steelers, no matter who's out there, this defense continues to hum, and they're finding a way. But now the offense seems to be finding their footing as well, putting up points. Your takeaway from what Pittsburgh showed us on Sunday night?
They're so annoying. I can't stand watching the Steelers. They're so annoying. They're coached by a great coach in Mike Tomlin. Their defense is, in my opinion, one of the best in the league. The offense, they had Justin Fields, and it made me feel comfortable because I knew he wasn't that great of a quarterback. Now they have Russell Wilson. He's not that much better than Fields, but he does have the experience. He's the only starting quarterback in the AFC North who's won a championship. I just don't know how they're getting it done. This offense, if you look at the film, it's not really that great. Pickens had a bounce ball, and then he caught it and ran it somehow. They're just getting lucky on offense, but the defense is sound. The defense is legit, and it's enough to take them to the playoffs. I'm not sure if they have what it takes to actually do damage in the playoffs against these upper-tier quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. But that defense is good enough where it can spoil some stuff, and it's just unbelievable that the Ravens are tied with the Steelers right now. I cannot believe it, and they're going to continue to win, which pisses me off, but it is what it is. Shout out to the Steelers. You guys got it done, but I don't know how.
That defense held the Jets scoreless in the second half as the offense continued to roll, and you mentioned they'll continue to win. they should win this upcoming Monday against the lowly Giants, making everyone in the New York area hate the Pittsburgh Steelers just a bit more than perhaps that they already did. Zay, I'll turn it to you here. The Steelers, man, they just every year, every week, it's a lot of the same, and it's just finding ways, and somehow, some way, recently, they're doing it in more dominant fashion than we're used to.
Mark, I was rooting for you last week. I'm like, man, I wish you was here to talk your stuff. I can't wait to hear what you got to say because you called it, man. I mean, you said that the Steelers was going to be here. Browns were going to be at the bottom. But, the Pittsburgh Steelers are just the San Antonio Spurs of the NFL. These guys are just the most disciplined, well-coached. Like, when you think they're not supposed to be in the mix, they're still in the mix. Like, remember that stretch when Tim Duncan got old? And then they didn't have a couple good years, but they were still respectable. And the next thing you know, they're in the championship battling with LeBron a couple years in a row, like late in the 15, 16 era. Like that, the Steelers just Parsons came out on his podcast and just said, it's a guy you'll run through a wall for. Mike Tomlin is that dude. And, I talk about with my team, I wish we had the stones to do some things that would make the locker room uncomfortable or make the situation uncomfortable. And one thing that Mike Tomlin isn't afraid to do is to make that tough situation. Like we all were sitting here saying, there's no reason why you should go away from Justin Fields. But guess what? There's a reason why we aren't head coaches, and there's a reason why he's gone, over 500 the entire time he's been in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization is because he understands certain situations. And you made this switch, and what once was you can't do this on offense, can't do that on offense. Well, wake up. They scored 37 points. So obviously there was some term of their, whether it be psychological, whether it be, like Sam said, it wasn't great on tape, but you can't knock discipline. You can't knock being coachable. And the Steelers are just a model organization for that.
It's a good point you make. Mike Tomlin made the decision to start Russell Wilson entirely on his own. He said he was a lone soldier in that regard, kind of inferring that it wasn't a decision that everybody was on board with. But Tomlin, like you said, proves to all of us why we're not head coaches, why we're not successful head coaches, and he's been one of the more successful head coaches since he's entered it. But it wasn't easy in the beginning, Zim. Russell Wilson was getting booed by his own fans. People were frustrated right off the bat. I think little did they know the turnaround that was going to be on the horizon within that game, putting up 37.
Yeah, I was watching it. I think the Jets were up 15-6.
Yep.
It was like 15-6, yeah, and I was watching it, and I know, early on it wasn't looking too good. I think they punted, but then when they got that interception, and then the Steelers, what they did, and it kind of goes to what Zay is saying, it's like every single time that you make a mistake, they just play sound football, and they take advantage of it. So many times I watch teams, particularly my team, get a turnover or something like that, and then don't do anything with it. Like we were on the 40 or something, 3 different times in the Browns game, and got no points out of it. You know what I mean? Like the Steelers capitalized on every single thing, every single Aaron Rodgers mistake. I thought Warren probably played one of the better games that I think he's had throughout the season or whatever. I think he had probably about 40 yards or so. Najee had 100. So you got the run game going or whatever. And after a while, it was just the defense. Once the defense knows what you're doing with that pass rush, it's a wrap. And it ain't too many teams that got the personnel up front to withstand that legitimately if they're down on the Steelers. In the pass rushes, they got a rotation of guys, like some of the guys that they're rotating at the 6 through 8 spot will start for a lot of teams. And I've been saying that from the very beginning of the season. The defensive line is one of the best, if not the best, top 3 at minimum in the NFL. And once you get down on the scoreboard with them, it's no joke. And I think Aaron Rodgers' old ass found that out.
Sean's asking, does everyone still think the Steelers finishing in the basement? I know Marky Mark doesn't feel that way. Mark, so good to have you back, and you're coming back off of a dominant victory. It didn't look like it was going to be that way. It wound up being that way. Talk to me about your Steelers on Sunday.
Let me get my popcorn ready. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, so look, just one big shout out to Bubba for filling in the last few weeks. But in terms of the game, all I heard, because I watched the replay, I came back from Bali off the plane, I watched the replay. All I heard in the broadcast was Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. For what? Fucking 1 quarter? Back and forth, over and over and over and over? That's all I really heard. Then I'm telling you what, though. I don't know about you blokes. Because maybe it's because Aaron Rodgers beat me in the Super Bowl in 45. He hasn't done nothing. We talk about Mike Tomlin not doing in the playoffs and winning Super Bowls and this and this. Aaron Rodgers hasn't really done anything in terms of trophies besides going to Egypt, picking up like going on holidays and all that kind of crap. To me, he's done nothing. So I wasn't really worried about Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams. They got 30 yards together. Their first pass, as Chris Collinsworth, this guy's mate down here, who I can't stand either, right? And he can't stand us. Their first pass together was an incomplete pass where the receiver was not even near them. You're telling me that this Jets team was meant to be favorite to beat us, the Steelers, at home, wearing throwback uniforms to Super Bowl number 9 versus the Vikings 50 years ago, when everybody was all around town and terrible towers going crazy. Russell Wilson going outside the running through the tunnel, fireworks going off. The Jets, yeah, we're a slow start, but the bloke hasn't played as well. He hasn't played for like fucking, I don't know, a year and a half. And I told you guys this too, what was going to happen. Russell Wilson was always QB number 1. People didn't want to listen to me. I told you that the Steelers weren't going to be number 4 because they had a pretty good roster to keep them around 500, like Tomlin does. That's why the fucking Rooneys. By the way, I'm talking to Steelers fans, not you blokes. Steelers fans, I can't. There's 20% of my. It just gets me. Art Rooney won't get rid of Mike Tomlin because he's a really good coach. And he said, okay, I'm going with Wilson. This is why I'm going with Wilson, because he's going to give us the best chance to win. And then they went through the mud. They got a Beanie Bishop pick. They came back, went down the field. Flag came out. They got a TD. Then over the half. Then Rodgers threw another pick. Then we took advantage of the game. Najee's running like he's playing in December. This team is playing pretty good football. And they're doing things to win. And at the start of the game, the Jets are the best defense. We have Rodgers with Adams. Oh, my goodness. The Jets are going to go to the Super Bowl. They're the best team on earth. After the game, it's only the Jets. You ask me how that makes sense.
Story of my life, Mark.
Big time.
No, but you know what's crazy? I mentioned it last week, and I mentioned it the week before. When the Steelers and Ravens are underdogs at home, it's bad. It's bad news. And what were they? They were minus what? Weren't they minus 1.5 at home underdogs? That's disrespectful, bro. You don't do that to the Steelers.
You had to have an absolute hole in your head to put money on the Jets in that game. Like you just said, it seems like if you like money, Tomlin at home as an underdog against a team that doesn't deserve to be a favorite, that seems like a sound investment to me. The Jets were a 3-point favorite in that game. And like you said, Mark, for what? What did the Jets done to earn that right?
See why I loving this. See why I loving it.
Mark, I loved every single second.
Now you know how I feel every day coming on here talking to my division rivals. What you mean?
God.
This the mode. That's what I'm in right now. Like the same way you feel, that's how I feel about the Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That energy right there. That's exactly how I feel.
The reason for the energy, I usually don't have problems with anyone, but when you're being told that a 41-year-old quarterback off of an ACL tear should be an MVP favorite, when you're told a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 12 years should be a Super Bowl favorite, and when the Bills have won the division for 4 consecutive years and the Jets are now somehow the favorite to win that as well, I got major problems with it. Watching this unfold for the Jets has been equally as fun for me as watching my Bills go to 5-2. I know that's insane to say, but like you guys said, when you watch a divisional foe struggle, especially when the expectations are ludicrously high and undeserved, is there anything better? And I think that's what the beauty of it was. And when you watch the Steelers do it too, I love it because that, to me, the Steelers are the opposite of what the New York Jets are. They're what the New York Jets want to be. Defensive-oriented team, but the opposite in which they're run. The Steelers are one of the best run organizations in sports. The Jets are the complete opposite. And I think on Sunday it was a microcosm of what those two organizations are in a nutshell.
Just one more thing. I think the Jets are just trying to make Aaron Rodgers the owner. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make him most comfortable, and they've almost set themselves back another few years again. Like Aaron Rodgers wasn't the missing piece to go on to win playoff games and go on to build success. Right? It just wasn't it. They would have been better off building through the draft more and more and more, getting an aging quarterback and what he did. And now they're and I don't think he's fully checked in. He wasn't even really there for the offseason. He was away and he's always throwing in every single time. He's always throwing. I can't stand him. He's always throwing his receivers under the bus. And it's always he blamed the fucking media. He said, oh, by the way, what's the first step? I'm
listening to you.
The media is the first step. Is we don't listen to you. That's how we get better. No, how you get better is actually playing good football and playing and reps and have accountability for yourself. Aaron Rodgers is going to bring that franchise back again. And he's done it.
You know what it remind me of? Y'all saw LeBron with his son last night. I was just like, is he the coach? Like, even afterwards, Reddick, JJ is like, oh, I didn't even know what everybody was standing up for. So I'm like, you didn't tell him that Bronny could even go in the game or whatever. And I feel like that's what Aaron Rodgers is like doing right now. It's like,
you mean to tell me it's odd that your head coach used to be your former podcast partner? You tell me that's a bit odd, Zim? Is that what you're seeing there?
A little bit of just a coincidence.
Craziness. No, yeah, that's Mark. It's all great points. Every single week, Rodgers has had somebody else to blame but himself. This past week, not only was it the media, but the energy wasn't there yet. Every time they zoom in on Rodgers, he's the one rolling his eyes. He's the one absolutely irate with everyone. It's something else. And when you're watching the Steelers, it's the opposite, man. It's a lot of positivity that I think has churned this team into a 5-2 team through 7 weeks that a lot of people did not expect to have that type of success.
It wasn't always peaches and cream, Z-Bot. Don't let Mark fool you over here. Definitely. When they had Kenny Pickett over there, they were in hell. Don't you give them all these passes. Like, I let you go on for a while now. Y'all sucking the Steelers off a little too crazy for me.
That's crazy. And our team still got us to 500 with a playoff chance, right? And even with the duck experiment too. So
and Mitchell Trubisky was running out there, and y'all was looking like, what the fuck were y'all even doing? Like, what are you talking about? You had the small sample size of Kenny Pickett. He shouldn't even have been playing the following year. Y'all started him. You fucked up that season. Then you come back with the whole Justin Fields. Experience. I mean, I don't know about Russell Wilson. I'm not completely sold 100%.
We still had a chance to go to the playoffs, do all these things and winning football games in that sense. Like Kenny Pickett didn't work out. Trubisky was a big mistake. I agree with that for sure. But then saved the season to have a chance to go to the Bills, and then these guys did the weather storm, and then we don't want to play the Colts, no. And the next minute we lose. Josh Allen running 65 yards down the field.
There's a lot of validity to what Zeba said. Overtime, yes. Tradition-wise, yes. Steelers, everything like that, I 100% agree. When they're winning currently right now, everything seems very sweet. But offensively, they went through the Matt Canada shit. They went through all this stuff. This is all recent. This ain't a long time ago. So let's pump the brakes.
That to me, though, doesn't it make it even more impressive that they still continue to make the playoffs in that circumstance? That's what blows my mind. Like last week for the Titans, Mason Rudolph got the start, and that quarterback got to the playoffs with these Steelers. That's the craziness. It's not a championship, however, but it's competitive no matter what.
Tomlin 1,000% is probably the most underrated coach in the history of football because he has this way of maximizing guys that I don't even really, for me, sometimes I'm not really that high on him, but he has a way of maximizing what they do and he figures out ways to win. So I will give you that, but
so many Steelers are spoiled though. They're so spoiled. About 10% are very spoiled. They would never say that.
Because you know the people that say that though, those are idiots that want some nerd ass dude that plays like that does X's and O's and is like some offensive genius. You could go hire that geek.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could go hire that. That person isn't good with people. Tomlin is a guy that you're going to run through a brick wall through, and so those are two different conversations, and people don't like having to differentiate the conversations. Like, and that's the issue with that.
And I think that's what's so scary about it because they are a quarterback away or an offensive coordinator away from literally looking like the Ravens.
Yep.
Like if they get any type of offense, the Ravens and Steelers are gonna be,
but no Bengals. No Bengals.
It's not.
I'm just asking. No Bengals.
It's not no Bengals. The Bengals are in there, but we're talking about
Bengals back-to-back division titles.
I mean,
Super Bowl appearance. No Bengals.
You're right, but the dominance? We ain't seen the Bengals dominate in no sense like that when it comes to everything that you just said. You said, well, they didn't have this, and this, and yet they still didn't have a losing record. They still found a way to make it to the playoffs. They still
since Joe Burrow came into the NFL.
They had Joe Burrow
his first 2 NFL seasons. He did do that.
If Joe Burrow was on the Bengals the year that y'all went to the Super Bowl, they probably win.
If Joe Burrow was on the Bengals,
if Joe Burrow was on the Steelers, my bad.
Oh, okay.
It does feel like the Steelers
away from being scary.
Joe Burrow was on 31 other teams. He probably have a chance to get them to a Super Bowl as well.
Well, I think if Joe Burrow was on the Steelers, imagine. I mean, they're putting up 37. Russell Wilson hadn't played in a calendar year, so it's pretty wild when you think about it. But this is the point you made, Zim. I love this. To me, It's the ultimate difference that people do not consider. They want a guy like Mike McDaniel, but that team is one of the softest teams in football. Whenever they get into an adverse situation, they lose every single time. And then when Tua goes down, what happens? That offensive genius is averaging 11 points per game right now. You can't replicate the culture that a guy like Mike Tomlin builds and creates and sustains, and people do not consider that when they want to fire a guy like that. And if you did fire him, you would notice it instantly and you would regret it instantly. And I think that's the biggest difference between some of these newer guys and some of these established guys like Tomlin. Speaking of established coaches, John Harbaugh is an established coach, and right now he's got an established franchise in these Baltimore Ravens, who are playing the best offense in football over the past month. Sam, my man, this is one scary ass team. I can't help but sit back and watch these Ravens and say, my God, I wouldn't want to see them in any capacity in which an elimination game was, on the line. These Ravens absolutely rolling. Lamar Jackson rolling. Derrick Henry looking like he's cruising to Offensive Player of the Year if this keeps it up. My God, what we're witnessing from Baltimore right now is incredible. 41-31, the final on Monday Night Football against the Bucs, and the result of that game does not indicate how much of a blowout this really was. A ton of late garbage time points for Tampa Bay. The Baltimore Ravens decimated the Bucs in this game. Lamar Jackson, on 22 attempts, has 281 yards and 5 touchdowns, and Derrick Henry rushes for 169 yards, averaging 11 yards a carry. These Ravens are averaging nearly 250 yards through the air and over 200 yards on the ground. Unprecedented offense from these Ravens as of late, and they look like one of, if not the most dangerous team in football right now. Mark, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on what these Ravens are putting together, because it's utter dominance.
You might as well give Lamar Jackson and the Ravens an 8-0 record against the NFC every single year. I just don't understand how NFC teams are not prepared to play the Ravens. Now, Steelers versus Ravens, always a slugfest, always a crazy, crazy time. In the last 4 years, we are 7-1, like you have a super chat there shortly. But I thought the Buccaneers could have matched up well against the Ravens, right? I thought that could have been a thing where Baker was playing pretty good football, but then he threw the ball over 2 times. The Ravens are, look, I can't stand them, but in a football sense, it's pretty freaking awesome. You've got Derrick Henry getting 164 yards, Lamar Jackson getting 17-22 and like 5 TDs. What do you do? How do you stop that? All the Ravens are an offensive juggernaut. They're probably the best team in the NFL. So we need some help to slow them down so we can jump in front. Otherwise, this is coming when it comes towards, or Netflix or whenever the Hard Knocks is, it's going to be a crazy time fighting for the North, for the Steelers versus Ravens. We don't play till like week 13 or something like that. I don't even know. Like, we're still pretty far away. But it seems like that these other teams just don't have their number. Maybe they don't play them enough. They don't scheme enough. I don't know. Or they're just not ready for the Lamar Jackson experience, or what Derrick Henry was not getting used that much at the start. And then he just went away. He's like averaging 7.1 yards per carry.
It's insane.
Like, if you're like a first-year football fan, you know that you got to get 10 yards. Use the math. That's 7 yards. You give them the ball once, and then you're 3 yards away. This team is pretty unbelievable. As much as I don't like them, but as a football sense and being a fan of football as well, they're fucking good, and it fucking hurts me. I'm out. Done.
I well said, Mark. I wish this team was in the NFC. Maybe we could appreciate it a bit more, because my God, I mean, it doesn't even look fair when you're watching it, because on one moment there's Derrick Henry, who weighs as much as a Mercedes Sprinter van going 70 miles an hour down the left side of the field. Then when that's not working, there's Lamar. A guy's wide open because we have to stack the box to stop Henry. Well over 200 rush yards in this game, nearly 300 pass yards. It just seemed easy. They cruised to 41 points. And right now, I just don't know who's got the personnel to stop it. And for the life of me, how the hell did this team lose to the Raiders? I'll never know. But Zim, your thoughts on what Baltimore's putting together right now?
I think their offense is looking like the best offense in the National Football League, without a doubt. I feel like every single time that they're on offense, it just feels like it's a miracle if you stop them. To me, that's the game. I thought early in the game, I was impressed with the run game of the Buccaneers, and I thought they had something. And any little chance that they had, Baker just threw it away with the red zone interceptions and just messing up. You can't make those mistakes, and you have to get them. The only way to get Derrick Henry off the field is to get a lead. You know what I mean? Like when we played the Ravens, he wasn't on the field that much. We were scoring. They were scoring. They're matching up the pass. I thought they were going to get themselves a shootout like that. And Baker Mayfield just he messed them up early in the game. When they got to halftime, I just stopped watching it. I ain't gonna lie, because at that point I just knew it was over. But I woke up, I was like, damn, the score kind of got some more points. But once Mike Evans went down and Godwin went down, I'm just like, well, Godwin went down later, to be fair. But once Mike Evans went down, I'm just like, the scheme of the Ravens defense is going to take over that. People think that, when they're these NFC teams primarily, and teams that are not in our division, they always act like just force Lamar to run and like all that stupid shit that I hear every single week. And I'm like, why don't y'all just watch a game, get somebody on your scout team that knows how to throw and run, and then figure out some stuff? And you got to run the football yourself. You got to limit the possessions. You got to limit how many times he gets the ball in. And the Buccaneers early on looked like they had a little bit of sauce, but the Ravens took it away because once they start scoring, you saw the shots. Derrick Henry just on the side, like, yep, wait till I get in there. And I'm like, and see, that's the key that everybody's not catching. Is like, you have to be able to score with them if you want to get that Derrick Henry beast off the field. And if you fail to do so, by that time it's too late. Nobody wants to tackle him. Wait till it starts getting colder outside. What do people think is gonna happen then? It's gonna be worse. Yeah. And they just got Keaton Mitchell back in practice now too. So now you got more horses. So the run game is serious, bro. And so it's the craziest offense currently right now in the NFL without a doubt.
And to your point, early in that game, it was like, man, Bucs are for real. They're going to be able to hang offensively. You saw the separation between these two because the Ravens can sustain it throughout a 60-minute game, whereas most teams, including the Bucs, can't. And in pursuit of that, they had their two best receivers go down. It just feels like the odds are so stacked against you right now. In order to beat these Ravens, you're going to have your best offensive day and come up with at least one or two crucial stops on defense. And it's just not happening over the last month or so. Zay, from your perspective, just how frustrating is it as a fan of this division to sit back and just watch this offense roll with seemingly relative ease?
I don't even put my type of energy into that to make it be frustrating because we're 1-6 right now. I told you before we even got onto this, I'm like, bro, if it ended today, more than likely the Ravens win the Super Bowl right now. They're unstoppable right now. Let's be honest. Like, this is ridiculous. And you were talking about Baker Mayfield. Boy, did he sure do. He turned back that clock, didn't he? I mean, you go 11 plays for 67 yards and end it with an interception. Damn, that brought back memories. Like, they had 3. One of them came at the end of the game, which was the kneel. They had a 5-play, 3-yard for a fumble. That was in the second half when the game was basically over. And then the first drive of the game was 6 plays, 8 yards. The rest is scoring. Like, good luck outscoring the Ravens right now. All that offensive line talk that was talked about at the beginning, I think people need to stop sleeping on Lamar Jackson's arm because I think you're starting to see now that he'll make you pay. And I think last year his arm did get him in trouble. But when you add Derrick Henry into the mix now, you can minimize that. You get into that crucial situation, you can hand them off the ball now. And at the very least, let Lamar do it with his feet versus his arm. So you can take away that aspect that is Lamar Jackson throwing the game away for you in situations like this, especially when they're putting up points every single time they go out on the field. So they look super unstoppable right now, just like my prediction last week. I'm like, my gut tells me Baker Mayfield's going to put on that clinic that came out, got that 10-0 lead. And then it was just like reality hits. This is the NFC. Ravens are going to dominate, and they did.
Sam.
Let me ask you real quick. Let me ask you this, Zay. What's a team you think that could beat the Ravens?
Right here. Believe me.
I think they could, but that's
they're not tough enough.
They can't do it without the refs. They need the refs' help, and I think to do that. I think if you're talking pound for pound, go out there. It's just so hard to look. I think Josh Allen could play with the physicality because I think he's going to entice it. But I don't think they have enough horses. They don't have enough power.
They can't stop the run. The Ravens will run all over them. They can't do it.
But they can't. I don't think anyone can.
There's no. I mean, it's a good thing we got a long season. But currently, right now, I was just as you were saying that, and you were like, they're unstoppable. the competitor in my head is like, no, I think, you know what I'm saying? I think for sure, Sam, you go. Yeah, you go.
Who you think? No, who you think though? Because I'm curious. Because it's tough to really put a horse next to him and be like.
I saw a couple comments where people were saying like the Bengals were trash, but I do remember the Bengals having a lot of success against them.
They played him as well as
AFC North. I'll give you that.
I mean, the Bengals. Lamar fumbles the thing at the end. We miss a field goal. I mean, to say that they couldn't do it to me would sound crazy. I think the Bengals offensively aren't playing as good as they were then. But I do think defensively, our defensive line is there to at least get a couple stuff. In that game, we stopped it. They scored a lot of points, but the game was like, We stopped them 5 times. We stopped them 3 times. He had to fumble himself, and then it was like downs or something, or something, 4th down, non-convert. We stopped them 5 times.
Let's see what I think they'll keep on.
And that was with no defensive line.
I think
feel like the Bengals, the only team that got the firepower to really, like, the Texans don't seem like they got the like, maybe when Nico Collins come back, they might got the firepower to do so. But I can't.
I think it's going to come down to like the coach. I just think playoff football is going to be so different, and knowing how much the Ravens have been, so close yet not there quite so far, essentially. Like, this just feels different, and if you're not matching the intensity, good freaking luck, because playoff football, you think this is scary? Raven playoff, you know how Raven playoff football, you know how AFC North playoff football is. I mean, I don't know as much, but y'all know.
What you're going to have to do is what Zim's Bengals did offensively. You're going to have to score 38 points, and you're going to have to find a way late to win. And that's exactly what the Bengals did. It's just that they found a way to kind of piss it away at the end. But the Bengals offensively, I think they showed you what it's going to have to take. You're going to have to roll in terms of points. Now, what I saw here earlier, and this is what I personally think.
Hold on, the Steelers are right there.
In terms of what?
The Steelers.
Yeah, no, the Steelers defensively, and this is what I was going to make the point with the Chiefs. I think it all comes down to having the Steelers and the Chiefs, to me, the 2 best defenses in the league. I think the Chiefs have the best defense in the league right now. The Steelers are 1B to me.
Right.
You're going to have that stout of a defense. The key, though, regular season, I don't know who's beaten Baltimore, but to Saduki's point here, Ravens will have to go to KC and lose in the playoffs. That, to me, in an elimination game in Kansas City, or I think it would probably be in Baltimore, to be honest. I don't know how they don't get the 1 seed at this rate. But with that said, it's all going to come down to that moment against the Chiefs where you're going to have to outcoach Reed. You're going to have to do what you're doing on a weekly basis.
Thanks.
In the biggest moment, right? So, Sam, I'll turn it to you here, man. You got to be feeling great right now. What, with this topic in mind, what's different right now about this Ravens team that has you believe that in that scenario, this Ravens team can go into Kansas City and do what they've been doing the last month and a half here?
I think the Ravens are still pissed about losing to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. I think their entire offseason and regular season up to this point has been about righting the wrong of losing to the Chiefs in Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. I was there. I saw all the stars. They had T-Pain at the stadium. They had, every single Raven that ever played there. Mark Clayton, Ray Lewis, Jonathan Ogden, who we rarely see. He was there, and the Ravens wound up losing. So I think the Ravens are pissed. I think losing to the Raiders in week 2 was also a pivotal moment because Lamar Jackson is not going to stop. I think last year, the Ravens lose that Bucs game. I think them being up 41-16 and them crawling back the Bucs did, even though it was in garbage time. Ravens find a way to lose that game. They don't have the intensity to keep pouring on the points. Now they look like the Patriots back when the Deflategate happened and Bill Belichick wanted to prove everybody wrong and win their championship. I think they're pissed. They're still pissed. They lost in week 1 to the Chiefs. To your credit, who beats the Ravens? Who has a chance? I think the Bengals have a chance. They have the offense. I think if you can't be nervous playing against this Ravens offense. I think Baker Mayfield got really nervous once the Ravens started scoring points. He started forcing throws. That second pick to Marlon Humphrey was just terrible. That throw in the end zone to Marlon Humphrey the first time, terrible. Baker Mayfield just got, too nervous, too big. Something that the Ravens do against the Chiefs as well. They get nervous when the Chiefs get a lead. So I think that, you just have to be ready to put up 41 points. The Bills can do it. I think the Lions can do it. I think the Chiefs may be able to do it. I'm not too sure on the Chiefs, to be honest with you. And I think the Bengals have a chance to do it.
After y'all whooped up on the Lions last year, you can't. And now no Aiden Hutchinson now.
Yeah, I know it's difficult, but I like the way they're coached. They're coached tough, so they can handle adversity. So I think they have a chance too. But
Mark's sitting there. Hey, look, Mark's like, I'll take all of you blokes. Like,
the Steelers are the most dangerous team in the AFC. I was here in week 3 and I said it. The Steelers are still the most dangerous team. Their defense, I am terrified about. I still think that with TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, they still have the pieces in place to really disrupt the interior of the line. I know the interior line hasn't been much talked about in Baltimore, but a lot of these defensive lines that we faced up until this point, I think Myles Garrett's another guy who can cause some problems for the Ravens too. I still think that the offensive line is still a work in progress. It's not quite there yet. I've seen some things where I kind of figured that maybe the Ravens could struggle. So the defense of the Steelers is still terrifying. Their offense just isn't there. I don't trust Russell Wilson.
I'll take your offensive line any day of the week. Y'all averaging 400 yards a game.
I know. But these defenses aren't really doing what the Raiders and the Chiefs did in week 1 and 2. They're not using stunts. They're not confusing the rookies, the right side of the line. They're just playing their football instead of playing to what the Ravens need to do, which is spread the line, keep 8 guys in the box, but don't leave the outside open for tosses and stretches for Derrick Henry to just run through you. So I don't know what the NFC is thinking.
Sam sound upset that these motherfuckers is not game planning correctly.
Every week is the same thing. They load the box to keep the linebackers within the tackles, and they just dare the Ravens either throw it over top of you or toss it.
If I were to go against it after doing that whole strategy of loading the box up and then just saying, for 4 quarters, we were okay with Derrick Henry, but you're getting easy throws for Lamar over the top of your linebackers. I would almost play coverage now more so where you got to switch it up. But I would do that a lot more, and I would take it's hard. It's going to sound stupid, but you have to take a death by a minute. If it's 7-yard Henry, if it's 8-yard Henry, and you just got to wait for you to get them in a situation where maybe you get a false start or something like that, and now you're at 1st and 15, and now I do something aggressive and I get you behind the chains or something like that. But to sit there and load the box up and then just let him get these big plays over the top is not working. That's not working. He's definitely evolved in the offense way faster than everybody else is accounting for.
Yeah, and you need receivers. I think you really need 2 dynamic receivers. I got a lot of verbal altercations with Bucs fans who thought, we got Godwin, we got Mike Evans. So they struggled against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, so we expect that. It's not the same. You have a quarterback in Joe Burrow who's played the Ravens defense a plethora of times. It's not the same with Godwin, who's a beast in the middle of the field, and Mike Evans, who was pretty much on one leg throughout the first quarter. It's not the same. You have to have a passing attack who can get at it. The Bills do have Amari Cooper now, which makes them way more dangerous. The Ravens played the Bills, disrespected them in terms of keeping the cornerbacks in the front of the line of scrimmage and daring Josh Allen to do something. I think the Ravens can't do that this time with Amari Cooper. So there are teams that can possibly keep up with the Ravens, but the Ravens are by far the best team in the league. And I think if you're a football fan who's watched Tom Brady in his prime, you really need to pay attention to Lamar Jackson, appreciate it, don't hate him. He's probably the best quarterback in the league right now.
Well, we'll see if they can keep it going. It will get interesting on this roundtable, fellas, because 3 of the next 4 weeks for the Ravens are all against divisional opponents. So we're going to be having a lot of interdivisional battles on the roundtable here with these Ravens over the next few weeks here. I can't wait. You mentioned that Lamar could be playing the best football in the league right now. King 95 saying MV3.
Whoa.
Could be 3 MVPs on the horizon for Lamar Jackson. And if you look on BetUS right now, that is the case. Right now, Lamar, the overwhelming favorite to win the MVP this season. Lamar at plus 275. Patrick Mahomes, this makes 0 sense to me at all, in second place at plus 425. Allen in third place at plus 550. And I believe Jared Goff at number 4. So right now, if Lamar keeps this up, he will be on pace for an unprecedented 3 MVPs. If you think Lamar is going to win it, YouTube 150, the promo code on BetUS. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, and 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. You can still get Lamar at nearly 3-to-1 odds right now over on BetUS. Also, before we wrap up, once again, want to remind you about the Autograph app. The link's in the description below. You click it. It'll take you to either the Google Play Store or the App Store, completely free to download. Once you download it, use the promo code RTS. Click on your favorite team within the division here, and you're off and running. It'll set up a custom feed for you, tailored to your favorite team. with the top YouTube shows, top podcasts, tweets, articles, you name it. And the best part is you're already consuming the content. If you do it within the app, you earn fan coins that you can use to redeem for merch, jerseys, even tickets to your favorite game. Or your favorite team's game. So link in the description below. Click it, download it, autograph that. Promo code is RTS. Before we wrap up, fellas, a couple of quick super chats to get to from my man, Sean. Sean saying, those saying the Ravens sweeping the Steelers, what's the record against us since 2020? I think it's going to be a couple of good battles there with that defense. I think that's inevitable. Sean saying, Wang Harb's going to wang. I don't know that one. Anyone want to fill me in on this one?
No. It's another podcast inside joke.
Sean need to ask the real important questions. What's Lamar record versus the Steelers?
And what is it?
It's
2-4.
Ooh.
Oh, there you go.
Now, Sean's asking an interesting question. He's saying for the Chiefs to have to go to Baltimore in the playoffs, they'd have to lose at least 3 games the rest of the way. Name those losses. It's a good point. I think part of me forgets that as bad as the Chiefs have looked at times, they are the only undefeated team remaining in the league at 6-0. It's a good point Sean makes, Sam, because I wonder at the end of the year if the Ravens look back and say, man, if we hadn't blown a 10-point lead to the Raiders, this game would be at home right now. It's a good point, Sean. I don't know where the Chiefs find a way to lose 3. I do know last year, though, they did find a way to collapse at times, and that resulted in them having to go on the road for the first time. And it didn't matter. Ultimately, I don't know if it matters where that game is. The Chiefs went to Baltimore last year and rolled them. So I don't know if it matters if it's in Arrowhead or not, but it just seems like the way things are going right now, destiny will reunite those two teams in the playoffs. And it'll be interesting if Derrick Henry's the difference. Sam, I know you're waiting for your revenge, man. I know you can't wait.
I'll be there.
We said that the Ravens have 3 interdivisional matchups over the next 4 weeks. One of those coming up this week against Zay's Browns. We'll be previewing that game and all the other games within the division on our Week 8 preview show here on the Roundtable. You'll want to make sure to tune into that. In order to be notified of it, hit the like button and subscribe button on your way out. That way we let you know when the show airs. Also, once again, all the MVP odds in Week 8 lines up on BetUS. The promo code's YouTube150. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 and 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. Great show, fellas. Had a lot to talk about. Covered it all. Much love. Mark, great to have you back. Sam, great to have you as a permanent member. Going to be a lot of fun the rest of the way. And we had well over 700 in here all night. You guys are the best. You're making this roundtable, numbers-wise, threaten the rest of them. Keep up the great work to all of the loyal roundtable.
I'm getting ready for Cancun.
Day's getting ready for vacation. Sam's got his new hat. Jim's got his Bengals and Reds combo hat. And then there's Mark just rocking the fresh cut. I love it. For Mark, Sam, Zay, and Zim, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Thanks so much for tuning into the AFC North Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next one.
Zay look like Kyler Murray.